On this episode of Travels with Bill, we're going back in history to learn about the Winkler bank robbery. Now we're talking 1920, so not a lot of video from then. Throughout the episode, we'll be looking at the modern banks in Winkler and the city itself. This is the Winkler Police Service, their brand new building just completed a few years back, and if you were to rob a bank in Winkler today, they'd be there in minutes to take you to jail. But that hasn't always been the case. In fact, on October 13th, 1920, it was a very different response. Just before 3 a.m., Claude Williams got woken up with a revolver in his face and someone telling him, "Hands up." Claude was a teller at the Union Bank of Canada, Winkler branch. After opening the door to the vault, robbers blew up the safe. It took over 90 minutes and 3 explosions to get the money. $19,000 was taken, and when you adjust that to today's money, it would have been over $250,000. The robbers were smart. They cut the telephone and telegraph lines. They even cut the rope to the town bell. Even without the bell, the sound of the first explosion woke the entire village. Surely that was enough to bring the police. Well, not so much, and that's what makes this story so interesting. George Hebert was the constable that night. He knew the robbery was happening, but he didn't go to the bank. The evening before the robbery, when he came home, he thought someone had gone through his house. He even heard someone sneaking around his garage, but he didn't go to see who it was. As it turns out, Hebert, well, let's just say he didn't like conflict. After the robbery, he told the Winnipeg Free Press that his wife woke him up when she heard a gun fired. They both heard a couple more shots and screams. Hebert stayed in bed. He said his wife didn't want to be left alone. Then came the first explosion, and then 2 more. Hebert didn't leave the house, not even when a man came to his home urging the police officer to come outside. He told the Free Press his wife wanted him to stay home, and besides, he felt nervous about going to see what was happening. Hebert didn't leave the house until the bank teller came to tell him the robbers had left town, and it was safe to go see what was left of the bank. So who robbed the bank? They were never caught, but 2 cars from America were seen coming to and going from Winkler at the right time, and the 5 robbers identified themselves as Americans to the teller, so it's a good chance they really were from the United States. It was 5:30 in the morning before the police network was notified of the robbery. The local blacksmith was shot trying to warn people about the robbery, and several others were threatened. But the Winkler police constable was safe, and at home, until the danger passed. These days, the Winkler Police are one of the top police agencies in the province, and Winkler's sure a lot bigger than just a village. What about the Union Bank of Canada? It doesn't exist anymore. 5 years after the robbery in Winkler, the entire bank merged with the Royal Bank of Canada. At its height, the Union Bank had more than 60 branches in towns across Manitoba. Obviously, there's more to this story. I put a link in the description to the Travels with Bill website where we've reproduced a piece of the Winkler history book where all this information came from. One other really notable thing about the robbery, it was the first time in history the newspaper had used an airplane to gather news. The reporter flew to Winkler to get the story. Well, there's been other bank robberies in Winkler before and since, but those are stories for a different day. Make sure you hit subscribe to hear them all. Farewell for now from Winkler, Manitoba. We'll see you on the next episode of Travels with Bill.